Yes. Welcome into Let Me Put a List Together, where we rank topics about which we are passionate, along with Brian Mitchell. I'm Mark Grote, and today we are going to be doing the top 11 male Saturday Night Live characters. There will be a part 2 to this topic when we eventually do the best female characters of all time. But for this episode, we're doing the dudes.
Yes.
Right, Brian Mitchell?
Yes, we are. Thank you, Mark. We are so excited that you are here. There is big news with the Let Me Put a List Together podcast, and that is because we have joined a network. So we are now officially part of the Podcast Entertainment Network. As of right now, we have our own listener line. So if you want to call our hotline and make suggestions about what you want to hear on the show, or if you even want your voice on the show, or you have a comment or something about a past show, you can do that. And that number is 833-PODS-NET. That's 833-PODS-NET. Press 8 and then put the first 3 letters of the show, L-E-T, in there, and it'll direct you right to our hotline. And also, if you want to send us an email, we have a new email address. It's lists@podcastentertainment.com. And that is the business. So very excited. Mark is very excited, I think.
It's a whole new world, Brian Mitchell. Yes, I am. I'm excited. A lot of hard work has gone into putting this together. So, yeah, we hope it opens up like more interaction with you guys and reach an even bigger audience than we have right now. We appreciate each and every one of you that listens to Let Me Put a List Together.
And
we're pumped.
So here we go. Top 11 male Saturday Night Live characters. And these are the ones that were randomly chosen by the Choose-O-Meter. And we got all these new little goodies.
Yeah, well,
tools.
the budget has been upped. I mean, you can't, not everybody gets a Choose-O-Meter. Only the biggest of the, it's like, let's put it this way, we're 50,000 watts. What else do I want to say? You know what I'm saying?
All right, here we go. Opera Man, Adam Sandler, Ed Grimley, Martin Short, Hans and Franz with Dana Carvey and Kevin Nealon. Also Wayne and Garth, Dana Carvey and Mike Myers, Mr. Robinson, the classic Eddie Murphy, Unfrozen Caveman Lawyer, Phil Hartman, Samurai, John Belushi, Matt Foley by Chris Farley, Dieter with Mike Myers, Stefan with Bill Hader, and Church Lady, Dana Carvey. So as we go, you know what we do, Mark. You are starting us at number 11. Did you like the excitement in my voice?
Oh yeah, you've got the energy is totally different, man. You're at a 10. You're at a 10 right now.
I'm network. Right
yeah,
now.
You're network.
Podcast Entertainment Network, feeling it.
Right. The whole thing can only go downhill from here. So for number 11 on this list, you ready? Here we go. I'm going to go with The Samurai by John Belushi. Now, this is the only one that I'm going to read directly from. I have a snippet here that I would like to read to you about it that describes it better than I could have. And this is the way they describe it. He had a dedicated concept of honor, spoke only mock Japanese, and wielded a katana, which is a sword essentially, during the sketches featuring the character that showed him in different occupations that would not be expected for a samurai. He always performed his tasks perfectly despite scaring his clients quite a few times. That is right off the biography of the character, and I thought the way that they worded it was hilarious. But when I watched those episodes, and I did go back and watch a few on YouTube, you're always like, the whole time I'm watching, I'm just waiting for the sword to come out. It's like he's having the dialogue, whether he's working in a restaurant or he is at a business, whatever, hotel, but it's just like, keep an eye on the sword, always on the sword. And to me, one of the best ones was where he worked, I think it was like at a deli or something like that, and he's cutting the sandwiches with his massive sword. So it's one of those things you're like, how did they come up with this and how exactly does it work? But it works. So the Samurai is number 11 for me.
Samurai number 11 for you. And yeah, I mean, I think the best Samurai episodes were the ones with Buck Henry. He was always the host. So Buck Henry would be walking into the delicatessen and he would talking about, serve me this sandwich, and there'd be like ropes of like salami and stuff hanging down, and he'd be cutting it down with the sword. Or like the other one comes to mind is Samurai Taylor, where he needed a tuxedo. Again, Buck Henry, who looks kind of nerdy and older. And the great part about Buck Henry is that he played it totally straight.
Yes.
He didn't like fall into what are you doing or why. It was just like expected that this guy was going to do exactly what he wanted. Especially
of course, there's a guy with a long sword cutting the deli meat.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to cut my sandwich in two. That's great. Okay, no. Oh, he's going to use the sword. Oh, that's fine. No problem. Yeah. So him playing it straight totally made it awesome. And of course, the great John Belushi bringing that. It was a lot of grunting. I thought.
Yeah.
Right.
It doesn't really sound like Japanese. You're right. It's
no,
more
it
like
sounded
just
more like
grunting.
just this overall grunt. But yeah, John Belushi. I think that's a good start at number 11. I would have had him higher just because he's the great John Belushi.
Yeah.
But that was a great start. It sounds like do you remember that episode? I mean, did you ever see I'm sure we were too young to see the actual Saturday Night Live, but I saw a lot of those reruns.
Oh, yeah. No. I saw tons of them. Yeah. No, I used to be big into the original early SNLs in reruns. So, yeah. No. Let's not be insulted that it's number. Look, anybody that makes the list, you've already made a certain cut just to get to 11. So somebody's got to be 11, and Samurai is it for me. Okay. Apparently not for you, though, Brian. You just want to fight.
No, there's no fight. There's no fight needed. That's fine.
Fight.
All right.
Yeah.
By the way, you're listening to the Podcast Entertainment Network's Let Me Put a List Together.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get that in there.
Sounds good.
Anyways, number 10 is going to be, for me, Martin Short as Ed Grimley.
Oh, yeah.
Martin Short, of course, real popular on SCTV in Canada. Came over and did some seasons in fact, I don't know if it was just one season he did at Saturday Night Live. I cannot remember. Forgive me for that. But, the whole concept of Ed Grimley actually just started out. He was just a very greasy, unnamed school parent.
Okay.
In a sketch. And then what happened was they noticed that every time he was this parent in this sketch, that his hair kept getting higher. So he would just start pushing the greasy hair higher to where it created this, this look. And then from there, he just started showing his teeth more, and then created a character trait, and then just started this whole, after numerous episodes of being in this background character, then Ed Grimley was made. And of course, as you said, I think that some of the statements that I've seen pointed out, of course, he was obsessed with Pat Sajak for some reason in Wheel of Fortune. There's an episode where he's trying to get on the show. He was just, as I've heard him described, especially in a lot of the research that I've done, a hyperactive man-child. And of course, he's always like playing his triangle and wildly doing this dance around. His pants are pulled up like over his belly, almost to his like top of his chest, and saying, "Oh, I must say, and let's face it, and oh my God, give me a break." Like Pat Sajak would want to talk to me. I mean, like, come on, like he has time. Well, maybe he does, and he's like just this constant back and forth in his skull. So that is a great character, and that's one thing I love about Saturday Night Live of the past, is that it was all about the character. I noticed that the more recent Saturday Night Live, a lot of it is, they do impressions, especially when it was the Trump era and all that, doing a lot of impressions of just political people and, Trump himself and all the political people that were with Trump, a lot of just, impressions. But I love the creation of characters, and I think the older Saturday Night Live really pushed that. Create a character, get a catchphrase, and make it move forward.
Yeah, and you did a great job of pretty much describing everything about Ed Grimley. I will say this, before you made a little sense of the blueprint of the character and where Ed Grimley came from, when I watched it, I was like, I don't know what Ed Grimley is. I don't know why he looks like that with the pointy hair. I don't know why he is over tucked all the time. I just thought it was hilarious, especially when I was a kid, because he is kind of like a clown. He is in your face. He demands your attention 100% of the time that he's in the room with whomever he is. Like, he can't just sit there. He needs your attention at all times. And I think, too, the last thing that I'll say about it is that I think it's a like a perfect fusion of Martin Short's skills as a physical and obviously vocal comic as well, because he's always been like that. And Martin Short, maybe even as many accolades as he's gotten throughout his comic career, he might even be a little bit underrated, under the radar, because I know, like, from listening to other Saturday Night Live cast members throughout the years, like he's like a guy that they almost 100% of the time just think is like the most hilarious guy. All right, so Ed Grimley was number 10. That was your choice. So my choice at number 9, Adam Sandler, Opera Man. Essentially, and tell me if I'm describing this right, it's basically Adam Sandler singing opera or singing the news as an opera singer. That is the simplest form I could put it into for anybody that has not seen it.
He's singing headlines, like news headlines,
right,
as an opera singer. Yes,
exactly. And he adds his own little operatic Italian accents and vowels to the end of everything. He's got the long hair, he's got the cape, and most important, I think, the hanky that he holds in his hands too. And you're not going to be surprised when you hear this, Mitchell. But the one that I always go to and rewatched earlier today is where he's talking about, yes, my guy Eddie Vedder, and he's doing a even flow. No Time Magazine, no Pearl Jam, no like Nirvana, no. So it's like that, and there's my guy Eddie in the box up at the top with Adam Sandler as Opera Man serenading him and everybody. So it's almost like the Opera Man is almost like a serenading / roast / Opera Man singing the headlines. So I got him firmly at number 9.
At first, he used to use like a lot of Italian words, but then the later sketches, of course, he started moving more to like English and less Italian. And as you said, he was just adding A's and O's on the end of English words so they would rhyme. But yeah, I mean, just pointing out, one of the highlights that I'm seeing right now is when Tammy Faye and Jim Baker, and if anybody remembers Tammy Faye, she passed on, of course, R.I.P., but she used to have this heavy-duty mascara that she used to wear. And of course, Opera Man's, when he sees a picture of her and she's in the news, he says, mascara, mascara, you know, and he's got that, not only that, but he's got that hair that comes like shoulder length, black hair just parted in the middle.
Straight,
I mean, straight up. He's in a tuxedo. I mean, he's looking nuts. Again, a character, and it would play almost every week. There would be some news headlines that he'd tackle. And I think Opera Man was definitely, you know, when you're first starting out your career at Saturday Night Live, a lot of people get on the, what's it called, Weekend Update.
Right.
And they try out things and characters and stuff, and they become staples. And this, I think, was one of Adam Sandler's huge breakout characters, and it was only during a Weekend Update. So I love this one, and yeah, I think that's a good spot for it at number
9. All right, so the quick review. Samurai 11, 10, Ed Grimley, 9, Opera Man. Opera Man, Adam Sandler, that was my choice. So now, Mr. Mitchell, what do you have for number 8 on our list of top 11 SNL male characters?
Well, I am going to go with a duo here. This is Hans and Franz.
Okay, no, that's cool. I think that's rather appropriate.
Yeah, you know, Hans and Franz, it's a great joke. I mean, when you first start seeing it, there's a lot of things to unwrap here. Dana Carvey's weird-looking fake muscle body, and then he's got like some sort of spiky hairdo, and he makes this goofy like smile at you, and he's like, you know, he's a girly man, and all this stuff. And then, of course, Kevin's character is more like the only thing he understands is working out and looking totally like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Exactly.
But, of course, it had the catchphrase, "We're here to pump you up," and all of that, and that's what it's about. It's about the catchphrase. It's about those characters, and I think with Hans and Franz, I didn't know this, but this was actually started. I guess Kevin Nealon was doing like some sort of comedy tour. I guess when Saturday Night Live was off, he was in Des Moines, Iowa, and he saw Arnold talking, I guess, about weightlifting, muscle building, and then he brought it to Dana, and that's kind of how it started. They started talking like Arnold and all that, and then became Joe Gurley Men and Hans and Franz and all about pumping up. And that's how the show was started. But this was almost going to be a movie.
Really?
Yeah, they were almost going to make a movie out of...
wasn't there a Hans and Franz movie
No.
Okay.
They were going to do it, but here's the reason it got canceled. Actually, they had kind of Arnold Schwarzenegger in on it. They also had Conan O'Brien as a movie writer, and there was one other comedy writer that was involved. And Arnold was going to be involved, but then what happened was Saturday Night Live had like two really bad movies. I guess the Stuart Smalley movie really didn't do well, and It's Pat that didn't do well. And then, of course, Last Action Hero just came out with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and that didn't do well. So he was like, all right, this is just... It was in development, but he declined to do it, and then of course it all just fell.
Interesting, yeah, and I think too about the yodeling music right at the very beginning, and essentially they're making fun of Arnold Schwarzenegger, and in reviewing the tape today, Brian, they do say, I don't know if you knew this or not, but they say that they are the cousins of Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I don't know if as part of the bit they're actually lying about that, and Arnold doesn't really know them. But didn't Arnold he had to have made a cameo on one of them?
No, he did. He made a cameo on one of those, and which he says he can't believe his cousins are girly and weak. I mean, so what a way to just kind of
your flabby pectorals.
Yeah, remember that? He was like touching them and stuff, and
the big gray Rocky sweats, it's like Rocky One sweats.
It was basically like a muscle outfit with just a weightlifting belt.
Right, with a weightlifting belt. If you want to play games, let the games begin. And it was for like a few weeks, if you are of a certain age, it was on, or for that season, or maybe two, it was on you had to have your Hans and Franz, or you were mad when midnight came along and they didn't do Hans and Franz. You got to do Hans and Franz. So I think that's I did have a little higher, but I think that the Hans and Franz at number 8 is very appropriate. So good job, Brian. Good job. The network is very happy with you. I've just talked to some people, and the network is pleased.
Great. You just got off the phone with them? Great.
Yeah, the network is happy with the way things are going so far. All right, hold on a quick minute. You are listening to Let Me Put a List Together on the Podcast Entertainment Network.
And now, a word from our sponsors.
Dan Cronin tweeted, "I was lonely for a little bit, but fortunately, I got yet another email from Untuckit. Dan, if Untuckit can cure your loneliness, don't wait for an email, just put one on. There are so many occasions to break out your favorite shirt. There are Zoom calls, Zoom happy hours, Zoom coffee breaks, Zoom weddings, and Zoom Zooms, which are Zooms where you schedule other Zooms. Dan, no matter what the occasion is, you'll be the sharpest dressed person there. Find your shirt today at untuckit.com.
Papa, why can't we telegraph while riding a horse?
Son, there ain't no one to blame but Jeffro. He was riding old Betsy the Stallion, tip-tapping away at his telegraph, when blam! Ran right into the side of the saloon.
Well, if Jeffro can't do it, neither should you. Don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Share your thoughts about the list by emailing lists@podcastentertainment.com. And now, back to Let Me Put a List Together on the Podcast Entertainment Network.
Bill Hader. I just laughed thinking about this guy. He is, and I don't know if people appreciate him as much as you and I do, because he made our list, and hey, it's our list, so we can put whomever we want. So we like this guy. He is, I guess he's like a New York metrosexual, I guess is the best way to put it out on the social scene. He delivers the social scene in New York City in a way that it's like he's always telling a secret. It's like, hey, by the way, and with his hands over his face to almost make it look like he's got his hands cupped over his face as if to think it's a secret, and to hide his laughter all at the same time. And he just says really weird things to describe, New York's hottest clubs. It's a smidge of sparkle of sensual smell and human fire hydrants, or just like whatever you want to say, you could say it, and it totally worked. And he usually, that character character was usually good at making the host laugh, the news desk anchor, the SNL.
Seth.
Yeah, Seth. Was it Seth? Yeah, I guess it was Seth. Yeah, you're right. It was Seth. I wasn't sure if Colin Jost had come along.
No,
but yeah, that character had a way of making everybody on set laugh. And I'll sum it up by saying, I guess, that he just did great random adjectives to describe clubs and always breaking character. So it's a very quietly and sort of in the peripheral, it's brilliant.
Well, I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, let's look at it all. I mean, he's got the Ed Hardy type shirt on, and he's got his hair like combed all the way to one side. You know,
right.
He is the quintessential destinations and event advisor on the show, and he's always talking about the unusual clubs and parties. Now, some of the ones, it's like it usually starts with Seth Meyers pulling out something like, "Hey, you know, families are coming to New York for the holidays, and we have our correspondent Stefan to tell them where to go." And then he's like, "Hello," and he comes in and he does that whole thing, and then he's like, "So where should they go?" And he's like, "Okay. New York's hottest club is Hey." He's like, and then he goes
something
on
ridiculous.
Yeah, something ridiculous. And then John Mulaney actually is the writer of this.
Really?
And I've heard this somewhere that some of the stuff would be rehearsed, but that John Mulaney would actually add like things like last minute to where Stefan or Bill Hader would not know exactly, and he'd just be reading from cue cards. And when he covered his mouth, it was usually so he wouldn't laugh and break character because some of the stuff he was saying, he's like, "New York's hottest club is Hey," and he's like, and then he's like, "This place has everything. It has, you know, a guy in a Cosby sweater, Spud Webb, a child." And he's
Spuds
like,
McKenzie.
Yeah, and he's like, "And the bouncer at the front is a bulldog that looks like Wilford Brimley, and the password is diabetes."
And then he covers his mouth.
And then that's it. So, but
and he's got the rings on and everything.
The
it's
thing
beautiful.
is that it's. I always notice that Spud Webb is in there somewhere all the time. He's like, another one I've heard is a Russian guy on a treadmill in a Cosby sweater. I mean, like, who thinks?
Right. Just like, random shit.
Put together the most random stuff you could think of and just make him read it, and that's what the hottest club is. So, but this is genius, and I mean, you can't get away from it. It's so fun. He's so lovable. He's in love with Seth Meyers. He is Stefan is. So, all
right.
Bill Hader doing a great job, and Bill Hader is just. If you ever heard any of Bill Hader does the best Al Pacino impression
my God,
I've ever heard.
Oh yeah.
He also does a killer. Who's the guy from MASH? Alan Alda.
Oh yeah.
Holy
Alan
cow!
Alda.
Close your eyes.
Yep.
Listen to him, and that's Alan Alda.
Vincent Price. You ever heard him do that one?
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
That's another one of my favorites.
No, he's a guy who, like, just watching him on SNL, you never even really saw the full extent of his talent. Like, I've seen him more like on some of the specials he's done, and just when he's a guest, like on Conan, as you said, like go back and watch like Bill Hader with Conan O'Brien. It's hilarious
so
stuff.
It's so good. Yeah, Stefan is one of my favorites. What is Stefan at now?
So Stefan was number 7. You, sir, have the board at number 6.
Number 6, I'm going to have to go with another duo. I know that some people might think this is bizarre, but I'm going to have to say Wayne's World with Wayne and Guard, Dana Carvey, and Mike Myers. Now, when this initially came out, I mean, you were waiting for this, and I feel this is a timepiece. You know what I'm saying? It's like a time period piece because it was based on the guys that they had their own public access show, kind of like what podcasts are now. Everybody had a public access show, and it was in their basement.
In Aurora, though.
In Aurora, which also
Illinois.
made it cool.
Yes.
They were just two guys that were into rock and roll, that were into chicks, and that's all they talked about. They talked about classic rock and roll, chicks. They had the ripped up jeans, and they had all these little nuances phrases that they came up with, like swing, and talking about the different models. She's a Abraham Lincoln, and so Wayne's World, it started out as an awesome skit on SNL, and then of course it broke out into the movies, and they had 2 great movies, I thought, and it had a lot of different Saturday Night Live characters in it. Yeah, Wayne's World, a great character. I think just over time you just get tired of it, you know, and I think like it's just a place for itself.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, like, I couldn't watch those shows now. Like,
yeah, well, here's what it is. It became so much a part of our language and our lexicon. I mean, to their credit, like they got in all of our heads with all of the like swing, like you said. Did they? I think they might have even started the hey, that dude is hot. Not.
Yeah,
Didn't they start the whole not thing?
I'm sure they just expanded on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but yeah, they invented their own language and their own baseline jokes, and it got out there. And I think it was just, it's like it was a moment in time.
Yeah.
And you're right. I don't think that, for me, it doesn't really hold up that well. But you recognize it. I recognize it. We recognize it, that it is a classic and that it was massively popular and pop culture. And that's like when you've really done something right, especially in comedy, when you have people reciting your lines and using them like they're your own, then you've done something right. But it doesn't mean that we have to sit here and say that we love Wayne's World right now. I can't believe it. You and I kind of, we are totally on the same page with that. Respectful, but it's like, there's something about it that I'm just done with
like
it.
Extremely been there, done that. Extremely been there, done that.
Yeah, because it was on in the Super Bowl commercial. It was a part of a Super Bowl commercial, and I think it might have made some sort of comeback on one of the many channels in some regard. But yeah, it's like, okay, I'm done. It was great, but I'm done.
Yeah, it just beats you over the head, and then you're just done. It's same thing with Austin Powers, just beat you over the head. Now you're done. I will say that Dana Carvey's Garth Algar is, I thought that was a great character, and the way that he pulled it. You know where that character came from is his brother.
Ooh. Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
His brother, I guess, Dana, and I think he said on one of his interviews or maybe his comedy special, he was like, hey, Dana, what'd you do today? Oh, I hung out and did skateboard. Hey, whatever his brother's name was. Hey, what did you do today? He's like, I fixed the dryer. It now works perfectly. The spin cycle is excellent. And they're like, wow, that's great. He's like, yeah, I did it all by myself. And so that's where the inspiration came for Garth Algar.
Yeah, it's like he's like this sort of insecure, creepy character.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you're not really sure. Is he insecure? Is he harmless? Like, he's like, hey, did you ever find Minnie Mouse attractive when she was wearing that dress? He's like, no, man. Oh, neither did I.
I thought it was Bugs Bunny.
I mean, it was Bugs Bunny. Yeah, it was Bugs Bunny.
As a girl's bunny.
You know me, man. Yeah. I'm always just a little bit
off. And I love it. That's my favorite part of this whole show, is that we give out false information that I have to correct.
You're the fact checker.
I'm the fact checker of the show. So that's good.
You're always there. You don't even have to fact check. You just know, and you know that your boy Grote is going to botch some things.
Yeah, he's going to say a wrong lyric, and then I have to correct him. Yeah, exactly.
That's why we work. That's why this show made the network. So
he's just always one word off. It's always one word off.
It's true. I'm always one word off. You're right. And thank God. I don't know. Maybe it's annoying, but you're always there to correct me.
No, it's fun. It's fun.
No, you're right. It's fun. That's why we work.
All right. I have no idea what number this is because I'm not writing this down.
It was number 6.
Number 6. All right. So that was number 6. You got number 5. So who is your number 5 going to be?
Here we go. This is one of our favorites, you and I. Maybe one of the most quoted between you and I. It will be Dita.
Oh, yeah.
Dita from Sprockets. This is the time we like to dance on Sprockets. Join me, Mr. Mitchell. It's like a live late night variety show on German television, essentially. They have a monkey. This is the time we like to dance and touch my monkeys. Rockets.
Don't forget, you're wearing your hair slicked back. You're wearing John Lennon glasses and a turtleneck.
Black turtleneck.
All completely black outfit with turtleneck.
Everything is totally serious. There's no humor, no sense of humor whatsoever in their eyes. It is serious and it feels serious, but we don't know why, and that makes it absolutely hilarious. I mean, I considered making him my number 1 just because, Dieter's Dieter, but I'm going to go with Dieter at number 5.
It's all about the uncomfortableness. He's completely uncomfortable.
Uh-huh.
Are his guests uncomfortable? I don't know. I think they're just part of it.
Yeah.
I heard him described as bored and disaffective.
Oh, that's great.
Is that
disaffected, right?
Yeah.
And like I don't know if it says this, but he is humorless. Mm-hmm. It's funny, but it's not funny to him. It's dead serious.
Exactly. I was listening to Kraftwerk, the German electronic group, and they have.
Everybody knows that.
Yeah,
group.
of course. Yeah, everybody. So I had the album, and I was listening to these other popular songs, and then like the album just kept playing, and I'm saying album, but maybe it was a CD. But anyways, it played, and then all of a sudden this song came on called Electric Cafe.
Oh.
And it goes, and it sounded like do 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 do, and I'm like, that's the Sprocket theme, but it's extremely slow.
Yeah, I was going to say that slowed down.
So I looked it up, and that's what they did. They sped it up to 45 RPMs and then looped it. So that's why it sounds like it's ding, 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 ding.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, so listen to Electric Cafe by Kraftwerk, and that is the theme to Sprockets, but that's the normal Electric Cafe. Anyways, some of the best quotes, and Mark, we have always been fans of Dieter quotes. So let's go through some of them.
Okay.
Our favorite one is, "Your story has become tiresome." So that's what happens when Dieter is bored with what you're saying or bored with a guest. Of course, "I'm as happy as a little girl," pinching his shirt as the nips are pointing out. Another one, "His agony was gorgeous. I need to be slapped."
I find you repulsive, yet I want to take you out and give you flowers.
"Your presence intimidates me to the point of humiliation. Would you care to strike me?" This classic episode where it was Germans disturbing home movies, which is my favorite Sprockets episode, and it had the guy from Twin Peaks, Kyle MacLachlan.
Fair enough, yeah.
Okay.
You know me, I'm good with like 70% correct.
"Karl-Heinz, you are beautiful and angular." You are beautiful.
Like as in Karl-Heinz Granitza or something?
That's the name of the guy. That was the name of the guy that that Kyle MacLachlan. He was a guest host.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, those are some of our favorite Dieter quotes, and yeah, this one lasts. I mean, this one is. I still find this as funny as I did, the first times I saw it. So this one had lasting power, and I guess maybe because it wasn't made into a movie and it wasn't, blown out of proportion. It was like still kept in. It's like that band that you love that no one else likes, and it's kind of like your little secret, and maybe a couple of buddies like it, and that's about it. And it's all your personal. Well, like it's our personal little inside jokes. It's like there's nothing like, "Mitchell, I can't believe you're doing this. You make me sick and vomitous, but I love your style."
It's like I'm trying to figure out the good analogy for this particular skit. I think it's I want to say like a B-side almost kind of thing, but it's really not. It's just not the first song on the album.
Yeah.
That's what I think like. I think there's a lot of people who appreciate it, and people who do, you could totally talk to, but then there's some people who have no idea, no remembrance of it whatsoever, but it needs to be fully appreciated.
Yeah, absolutely. So that would be Dieter.
That is number 5.
Dieter at number 5.
I took Dieter. Your selections slay me, yet I find your face beautiful, Mr. Mitchell.
All right, I would say we're going to move on to number 4.
Yes,
after that exciting.
Yes. Here we go.
Dieter.
Here we go.
Hold on. Hold that thought right there. We're going to take a quick break. You're listening to Let Me Put a List Together on the Podcast Entertainment Network.
Enjoying this podcast? Be sure to check out all the other PEN podcasts by visiting www.podcastentertainment.com.
Dan Wilbur tweeted, "Got an email from Untuckit. Dude, every shirt's an Untuckit shirt right now. Mr. Wilbur, I just don't know if that's true. Every man deserves to wear a perfectly fitted Untuckit that falls at just the right length. However, due to production limitations, we can't make enough Untuckit shirts for every man on Earth. Lots of men are still wearing poorly fitted traditional shirts. Keeps me up at night. Find your shirt today at untuckit.com.
Neil Armstrong waited 6 hours and 39 minutes to step onto the surface of the moon. Jackie Robinson waited 20 months to play his first game with the Brooklyn Dodgers. And even DiCaprio had to wait 22 years to win an Oscar. You can wait until your destination. Don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Get in touch with the show through the PEN listener hotline at 833-PODS-NET. That's 833-763-7638.
And now, back to Let Me Put a List Together with Mark and Brian.
It's getting
Number 4 is going to be Mr. Robinson and Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood. First appeared on Saturday Night Live, February 21st, 1981, by one Eddie Murphy. And as you know, it is a playoff of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, who everybody hopefully still knows who Mr. Rogers is. I think they're playing his reruns on PBS, hopefully. But Fred Rogers, quiet, loving, sweet character for children, teaching how to tie your shoes, I guess. I don't know. What else did Mr. Rogers do? He had the neighborhood of make-believe.
Right. King Friday and all them
that
boys.
Stuff.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Eddie Murphy flipped that, and he was like, okay, so what if the television show was based in a real crappy apartment by a black guy who was running away from his landlord and, was stealing stuff and was trying to sell it? What would happen there? And that's how you got Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood. And he also did the whole, talked very soft, and he also had the music in the background, that diddly-diddly-dee, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
He had a theme song like Mr. Rogers, who wore a sweater. And my favorite part of the Mr. Robinson Neighborhood is always, he's like, wait, there's somebody at the door. Who is it? And then it'd be somebody at the door. It'd be like his landlord, and he'd be like, Mr. Robinson, I need the rent. It was like, ooh, Mr. Robinson gotta leave, and he'd go like run out the window. We'll see you next time, boys and girls. So he'd take off out of the window while somebody's banging down the door. But yeah, that's my favorite part. Who is it? He'd be all soft and sweet talk, and then of course he had to play tough guy.
Who is it?
Who is it? Yeah.
Yeah, and he always said he had the word of the day, and in that particular episode, the original word of the day was Xmas, like as in Christmas, because it was Christmas time. And then when it was time to get out the window, he said, the new word of the day, boys and girls, is escape. Out the window. Yeah. And that's what he did. So
I don't know if you grew up at that time of Eddie Murphy. It's like, I just don't, that was so cool back then. I mean, it was so edgy and cool, and I mean, it was just creative and new and funny, and
he's the GOAT, man. As far as I'm concerned, greatest of all time.
He was so funny and creative and young, dude, coming in like 18, 19. Yes. I mean, and just becoming a superstar. And good for Eddie Murphy, man. I always liked Eddie Murphy. Everything that he's done, I mean, except, Dr. Dolittle, but, he
had a few duds as movies, there's no doubt.
Yeah, and I think as he got older and he had kids, I think he had to tone it down, and I think that's what he did. I mean, when you're young like that and, you're just going buck wild and, doing all that and F word, F that, and then when you start having like 19 kids like he has, I mean, you got to kind of tone it down, I think, for a while. So.
Yeah, exactly. You can't, Raw 2 is not coming out anytime soon. Exactly. But I like it. I like that you have him in the top 5 at number 4. So Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood, Eddie Murphy at number 4. Okay, I am up for number 3, Chris Farley as Matt Foley.
Okay.
And the genesis of this is that you have your average white American family. The mom and the dad decide that the kids need a motivational speaker, and that is the very large Chris Farley as Matt Foley. I am 35 years old. I am divorced, and I say with me, Brian, I live in a van down by the river. Right. And it's his size. I mean, his size always added to the caricatures that Chris Farley did, but him in his ill-fitting, poorly styled sport coat and pants, and just constantly turning around, pulling up his pants. David Spade cracking up the whole time. And the one that I watched, it might have been the only actual Saturday. It was the Christina Applegate one where she's on the couch. She was obviously the host that day, and it's just hilarious. Like just him doing his entire shtick and trying to get these kids to do right when in fact he is, well, they make him out to be a loser. Yeah. So yes, I've got him at number 3.
I'm going to say that Matt Foley, if you think about Saturday Night Live and the over-the-top big guys like John Belushi I think that a character like this is right up Chris Farley's alley, and I think he totally ran with this. I think one of the coolest things about this is that the name that he came up with this character, and the concept of the character was created by Bob Odenkirk, who is Saul in Better Call Saul. Farley debuted this character at Second City prior to joining Saturday Night Live, and he based this name of this character on one of his rugby teammates, who is now a Roman Catholic priest in Arlington Heights. So there is a Father Matt Foley in Arlington Heights. And also, as much as problems that he had, he was a very devout Catholic, as much as he could be. I think he really struggled with that, with all of his drugs.
Oh, yeah, substance abuse, for sure.
But anyways, just an awesome sketch. I loved when he would, fall out of the window, or he'd, crash on the table. You know what I mean?
He did. Yep.
The one, I think in this particular Christina Applegate one you're talking about, I think the kids left a bag of flaming dog crap on the thing, and remember he had to he opened the door and he put the fire out. He put the fire out, but then he's it was dog crap, and then he lifts up his leg, and that's when he falls out the window. Awesome, dude. Just creative as all hell. I miss Chris Farley, and I think Matt Foley is definitely one for number 3. Yeah.
All right, so Matt Foley by Chris Farley is number 3. We got 2 to go, and Brian, you have the honors, my friend. What is number 2?
It's probably one that's not as popular, but it's one of those Dieter that just kind of it sticks with you, and it's kind of that hidden favorite. And that is going to be number 2 is going to be Unfrozen Caveman Lawyer, Mr. Key Rock.
Yeah, Mr. Key Rock, right?
Mr. Key Rock. This was created by Jack Handy. Deep Thoughts by Jack Handy. And it was played by the great Phil Hartman. I like the intro scene where they talk about, 100,000 years ago, this Neanderthal fell into a crevasse. I love the way they say that. Fell into a crevasse. And he was frozen solid. In 88, he was he was thawed out. He attended law school, and he became Unfrozen Caveman Lawyer. I mean, just love it. He goes to law school and he becomes all of the stereotypical lawyer trait. But he uses this bogus logic that he's oh my gosh, your modern world confuses and frightens me. He's I went to Hawaii, I saw a solar eclipse, and I thought, oh no, is the moon eating the sun? I don't know, because I'm a caveman. But I do know that when a man crosses the street and he gets bumped by a guy on a bicycle, that he is required to receive no less than $500,000.
And he happens to have that handy.
And then all of a sudden, they're okay, do you guys have a verdict? And he's we don't need to discuss anything. He's Mr. Key Rock made it perfectly clear. And then, of course, Key Rock's on a cell phone, and he's sitting there on a cell phone. He's ooh, these tiny little voices coming out of this weird machine.
I don't understand your world.
Your world, yeah.
Your world scares me. But I do know this.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, and then the judge will be yeah, okay, the jury can now go deliberate. And
we don't need to deliberate.
We've made our decision, and he always wins.
He's so good. And then they always did on the next Caveman Lawyer, and he'd be Caveman in the airport or something like that, or on an airplane. And
right. There's one of those that they teased that I was watching, that he was running for office of some type, and he's got his entire family around him. And
that's
I don't understand your liberal politics and your conservative politics, but I do know that he becomes the perfect candidate because he doesn't understand the rigmarole of American politics.
I'm just a caveman. I'm frightened by your flying machines.
Oh, it's so good,
it's
man.
It's so good, and that's what I'm saying. I mean, a lot of people probably wouldn't put it that high on the list, but that is why. It's that compared to Wayne and Garth. I mean, it has teeth. It still lasts. It's still, look at how it's making us laugh, dude. I mean, it's
I know.
That's why it's so good, So
because it has not been overdone.
Yeah,
so
overdone.
We're gonna overdo it.
Absolutely.
But, beautiful at number 2. We are, if you're following along at home, you know that there is one left.
So do you want to do a recap? Have you been keeping count?
I can do a recap.
Okay.
Absolutely. I have been keeping track, believe it or not. All right. Number 11 was Samurai John Belushi. Number 10, Ed Grimley by Martin Short. Opera Man was number 9. Number 8 was Hans and Franz. Number 7, our guy Stefan with Bill Hader. Wayne's World was number 6. Dita was number 5. Number 4 was Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood, starring the GOAT Eddie Murphy. Number 3 was Chris Farley as Matt Foley. And then, as we just went through, Phil Hartman and the Unfrozen Caveman Lawyer. The number 1, it is left. It is the only one left on our board, and it is, well, isn't that special?
Yes. Oh, my gosh.
Church Lady,
yes.
Dana Carvey, one of the most popular skits of all time. It is Church Chat, the righteous talk show host Dana Carvey, dressed up as probably a woman in her late 60s or early 70s, wearing her dress all the time, and yes, her tagline, well, isn't that special? And her organ player, hit it, Pearl. And usually at some point in time mentioning the Beast. Oh, who could have made you done such a thing like this, Sean? Could it be Satan? And just like any number of different taglines and guests, the superior dance, the we like ourselves line.
Yep.
And again, these are lines too that I think that people took out on the streets as well for Dana Carvey. But just one of his many great characters. But Church Lady is a dominating pop cultural phenomenon, or at least was back in whenever it was.
Yeah, it was. Well, it first
90s?
appeared in 1986,
Boom.
and then the last appearance was 1990.
Okay,
So
and then he came back and did one too. He hosted like in the last 5 years or something like that. But I got your point.
And this was, he based this character, I guess he used to do it in his stand-up routine, but this was based on all the women when he went to church growing up that would like kind of keep track of people's attendance, and would kind of just, they're the Mitchells, they weren't in, the last 3 months. Wonder where they've been. It's like that kind of lady. You know what I mean? They haven't showed up for church. Oh, well, what were you doing? Watching football and, sitting back and not going to church. Those types of lady. Yeah, thinner. Yeah, that kind of thing. So he went and expanded on that. And I liked when he used to just have different people that were guest hosts just come on as themselves.
Yeah, Sean Penn.
Sean Penn was one of my favorite ones where he's like, Sean, he's like, all right, you are married to, what's her name? He's like, Madonna. She's like, oh, Madonna. He's like, she's named after the mother of our Lord, but she doesn't quite live up to the same types of... There she was, dancing around, her ball-bust buttocks gyrating to the light of little preteen onlookers, and all of a sudden, like, Sean, of course, the reason why he just goes off and belts the church lady.
He hits her.
The reason why that is because he was in trouble for, like, hitting paparazzis and stuff, so that was kind of playing off that, and of course, then he knocks her out. I just thought that was hilarious. Our naughty parts are tingling. Dude,
I bet you could do the church lady dance too.
I used to honestly.
I can see you doing
this
that.
was like this was fodder for the next week at school. If you could master one of these impressions. I mean, I used to do Bush. I used to do church lady.
Right.
And our ball bust buttocks gyrating to light of little preteen onlookers.
That's very good.
All that. So, So what about you? Oh, you already covered this, right?
Yeah, I covered it. So now, do we want to do our individual lists?
Yeah. Okay. All right, so number 1, hands down, Dana Carvey as the church lady as our number 1. All right, dude. So if you want to do your personal list, let me see what you got.
Okay, number 11, I had Samurai. Number 10, I went with Opera Man. Number 9, Stefan. Number 8, I had Ed Grimley. Number 7, I have Wayne and Garth, Wayne's World. At number 6, I had Hans and Franz. With number 5, I did go with Dieter. My number 4 pick, Matt Foley, the motivational speaker. Number 3, Unfrozen Caveman Lawyer. Number 2, Church Lady. And I did go with the GOAT, Eddie Murphy, Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood. What have you, Mr. Mitchell?
All right. I have number 11, Ed Grimley. Number 10, Hans and Franz. Number 9, Wayne and Garth. Number 8, Unfrozen Caveman Lawyer. I'm glad you did rank that higher, though.
I'm a little surprised you have it there, but carry on. Yeah.
Number 7, Opera Man. Number 6, Samurai. Number 5, Mr. Robinson. Number 4, Matt Foley. Number 3, Stefan. Number 2, Dieter. And, of course, my number 1, and I think an incredible character of all time, Church Lady Dana Carvey.
I did go on alert when you had Unfrozen Caveman as high as you did, just because I thought you had more love for that. But for the most part, yeah, I mean, I had Eddie Murphy as number 1, but I could totally, I would not fight you on Church Lady. No, sir.
All right, those are our lists. Mark, we usually like to do honorable mentions because, there's just too many to put on this list. There are still more great characters. These are just the ones that the Choozometer chose for us. So what do you think? Are there any that are on your honorable mention list?
Yeah, I got a few, actually. I have Tracy Morgan as Brian Fellows, basically a dumb guy who talks to animals, which is just hilarious. I don't know if you remember Kenan Thompson, and then Jason Sudeikis as well was part of it, called a skit called "What's Up with That?" Hilarious. Stefan, we did Mike Myers' Coffee Talk. And then I had to put on their honorable mention, I think, Superfans. I mean, that was another pop cultural phenomenon, and people to this day know what the younger people don't know what they're saying, but they've heard of it, and they're like, oh yeah, I think my dad was into that or whatever. But those are my honorable mentions. You got a couple?
I have. I don't want to forget about Rob.
Rob Schneider, Copy Man.
Making copies.
Billarama.
Yeah, Copy-rama. There was Sting was on the show.
Yeah. Sting ding-a-ling.
Sting ding-a-ling.
Ding-a-ling.
Their response was, hey, hello, Richard, just making some copies. He's like, Sting. Sting-a-ling-a-ding-ding.
And they're all like,
Sting-a-rama.
Okay, all right.
That's a good one, Richard. I haven't heard that one yet. A lot of people don't remember John Lovett's original breakout character was the liar guy. Remember the liar? The liar was great. He was like, and that was another one that became a big catchphrase. He's like, yeah, I'm part of the New York Yankees. Yeah, I'm in the number 4 slot. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's the ticket. Yeah,
that's the ticket.
Yeah, I'm a big baseball player, or something like that. Yeah, so the constant liar.
That's a good one, man. Any other honorable mentions?
I can't top of my head. Those are the ones that.
All right. That's good. No, I mean, I'm sure there's tons more. I mean, you and I, just to give the audience a little idea, you and I are huge. I mean, as you could tell, this is the second or third SNL topic we've done, and we're going to do more. We're just huge SNL P1 fans of the show obviously from the beginning. So lots of love for SNL.
Okay. All right, man. Sounds good. All right, so that's going to wrap it up. This is our first show on the Podcast Entertainment Network. Many more to come. And Mark, not a bad job. It's weird that we start our shows with something always NSL. That we start our shows with something always SNL.
Yeah, I mean, the first show when this podcast was nothing, there was no consideration of it being an affiliate on a network or in any way, shape, or form. And now here we are on the Podcast Entertainment Network with our very first show and many more to come. We've got so many we got a backlog of lists that we want to bring to you guys. And you could always suggest lists to us or react to our lists on social media, whether it's on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter. You could find both of us. You could find the Let Me Put a List Together social media spots, and we really do. We really, really love your feedback, and it's okay to disagree with us as well, because that's our list. You can make a list too, and you could definitely disagree with us, because it's what it's all about. That's why we're doing this, because, start a list, make an argument.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do. So don't forget, we have the listener hotline, 833-PODS-NET. Just press 8 and put in LET, which is the start of our title of our show, Let Me Put a List Together, and leave a comment, all right?
Thank you for listening to Let Me Put a List Together on the Podcast Entertainment Network. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get podcasts.